Giant Wolf.
Down here in the bottom left on Frost in the blue, the Protoss player, 1 game left. He is
Planet Key Dynamics Oz.
Their cross positions.
And like you said, cross spawns the Marine Prince.
GNR Green Wings Maru.
1 game away from facing Sue.
Yeah, that's going to be a good one no matter which one of these two players gets out. We already saw Sue versus Oz. Maru gets out. It'll be a battle between the 2 favorites of the group. Only one of them escapes. So Maru goes gas first. I love that Maru will go gas first on his opponent's map pick. He did it against San, and it failed.
Yep.
Well, actually, it's hard to say it failed. He didn't win the game, but the gas first that he went for did do a lot of damage, but San just was not phased by it and was able to recover. Maru got greedy with his follow-up. Now, in the game against Oz, he was pretty greedy with how aggressive he was too, but still ended up being fine for him. It looks like Oz is actually confident enough here to go Nexus first. We don't see Nexus first too often on maps like this, except the backdoor. Okay, so it's just a late gate. Never mind. Still going to get a pretty fast Nexus with this because he's got a lot more probes mine than normal and is going to be able to afford it. So it looks like it's just going to be gate Nexus, expand before core, before the assimilators.
Yep, does send out that probe finally. Put down that Nexus. And the probe, again, he always scouts cross positions. Wants to make sure of the fact of whether or not he's cross positions or not.
Yeah, exactly. Usually when you see this type of scouting pattern, it shows a player who really likes to play very different styles based on whether he's at far spawns or close spawns. He even double checks here. He's like, oh, is that a factory? Oh, that's really a factory. Okay, that's really fast.
Yeah, so now Oz is well aware of what Maru did go for.
I think we'll see him go for a quick robotics to get that detection out and be fine against what happened earlier, because he was able to, like you said, see everything. Just spec and watch the games between himself, or rather between Maru and San earlier. He watched the game that he played against Sue as well, watched himself lose.
Yeah. Second gate comes out here. He's going to want those extra units. He knows the factory timing is very, very fast. Can expect some kind of drop. He's going to need some units to defend against it. So far, though, no starport. Going to switch that with the factory.
He's just going to Hellion expand here.
Make some Hellions.
He pulled out a gas.
Yep.
I think this is a reaction based on being scouted. He's got the Marine here to deny further scouting, and he's like, okay, now you're going to go into defense mode, maybe drop a robo, and get all turtly waiting for my drop. He's going to send some Hellions over to get some follow-up scouting, and I'm getting command center. And a tech lab as well, so he can start stim, start getting his bio out. So not the attack that we were expecting. Very different build here. Lyody just doesn't have the charisma to deter that watchtower.
Robotics on the way, as you did call. He was chrono boosting the warp gate research here, which is interesting, to say the least. He does have that extra gateway here. He chrono boosted again. Now he sees these Hellions and he's like, oh, what? They're going to get in the base. They're going to scout everything.
Nice wall here. He can't break through. There's actually just no way to get back there.
That is some sick building placement out of Oz.
He's seen this build enough times.
And nice micro.
There's
Only
just some players. Yeah, you're right. There's just some players who always wall like every single game just in case something like this happens. Like in the beta, remember the German player Vilko? Every time I casted his games, like his pylon placement would be like so solid. Nothing, no Hellions, no blue flame drops are getting in his base. And like it very rarely came into play, but when it did, he was like, no, my pylons are ready. In this case, Oz has to make some additional pylons to stop him, but
this is interesting. He chrono boosted out that warp gate research 3 times. And all he's going to use for that is 2 stalkers here with the forward pylon. He's going to start breaking down these Marines right now. Fortunately for Maru, he did make that preemptive bunker and does have a tank in the back, actually, to defend against this.
This is pretty cool. I think he's trying to force some bunkers he made, but Maru's calling him on his bluff. He's like moving so far out, chasing. The thing about going for counterattacks really quickly against his build is normally the Terran player, if he doesn't commit and he does a few Hellions, goes into hyper economy, which we do see Maru doing, going into 3 command centers off of 1 barracks only. That's why that siege tank is so important, because oftentimes we see players skip the siege tank, and that costs them. We see players lose games to counterattacks. Usually not on cross spawns on Frost, but on other maps like Yunsu.
Nice there, picks off that observer. He was waiting for that guy. Yeah. He's making the Raven as well.
Not a bad choice. I like it because it doesn't have a lot of Marines out just yet to heal with a medevac, but the PDD's utility would be much greater. Looks like Oz is ready to take a 3rd base here as he pokes with his Stalkers. This isn't the same type of Blink Feign I was hoping to see, but it looks like we are going to see something very similar to that. You know, it's obviously a very funny way we've come to be in this place in this game, with Hellions running in and solid defense into Blink as the counter after that scout. So musical chairs here in the main base as all the add-ons are moving to where they belong.
Yeah, saw that out of MMA the other day.
Yeah, nobody loses in building musical chairs.
Yeah.
Everyone gets an add-on.
Except maybe the factory sometimes.
Factory does lose. Sometimes the factory is the one who's stuck making the additional add-on.
Yeah.
All right, Colossus tech here. The 1-1 upgrade started as soon as the forges are done. Not missing a beat there. This observer may fly to its death. Good reaction time.
1-1 up for Maru as well. Both these guys getting the double upgrading facilities there. Very interesting. Both guys, you know, after the little feigns they were doing, little plays they were making, just kind of sitting back now and just getting a ton of their tech up. Oz on one hand, getting the Colossi, getting the charge as well as both upgrades, whereas you see over here getting the Raven is Maru, as well as a bunch of medevacs going to come out here soon. Getting combat shields now.
The 3rd Nexus going up as the 3rd CC pops down. It looks like we're going to see a longer late game here. There's not much else these 2 players can do to each other for a while to be aggressive. Medevac count's too low for him to actually commit to a drop. Even these little things like this poke right here, even warps in 2 more Stalkers. I love this because he's like, nope. You think you can just take this for free? I don't think so. And you have a very small army that has late stim. And I know you have late stim because I saw you make that siege tank earlier, and I knew you were going for this early Hellion build because I scouted it. And he's just punishing for that. So he's low combat shields. Yeah, I'll fight your Marines straight up.
Yeah.
My Stalkers have more range, and if you try to turn around and hit me with your Marauders, I have Blink. And I've got a 3rd base up faster than you now.
This is very confident play out of Oz. He's not just taking it for what it is. He's not letting Maru do whatever he wants. And I feel like he saw San do similar play style here. And he wants to kind of copy it here. Just be like on the front door of Maru, keeping Maru back, not letting Maru play his game. You know, more pickoffs here. He does lose the observer.
Good. Combat shields and stim are done now, so he's not going to be able to stick around and do this much more. He could decide to try to put the Stalkers like over on the high ground near the 3rd base, but I think he's more concerned about this push that's coming across. It's going to blink his way back. He needs to hold this 3rd base because he got a little bit of an edge because of that with the harassment he got done. So he wants to come back and defend it. If you look at the army supply at the top right, you see Maru's up about 20, but that's the cost of this is that the upgrades for Oz are coming out as well as Colossi. And he can transition into Storm, so he's got all this gas he's dumping into that, and you know his army is a little bit weaker as a result.
Scan goes down there.
Well, I was just going to say smaller, not weaker, because it's more expensive.
Yeah. Maru sees the composition. He sees both Colossi, so he has a good idea. I mean, he's able to click on the units as well. He doesn't know when 2-2 is coming up, but based on the fact that he's got 1-1 already, he's got to assume there's 2 forges pumping out those upgrades as well.
Yeah. You know, he also started a 2nd starport after he saw those units. It's really important that you mentioned that because, you know, like you were saying, he checks what units are you making, what's your composition. Starts that 2nd starport. So now he can make a lot of Vikings, and he can also make Vikings and medevacs if he wants to bolster his medevac count. Looks like he's going to go over here and poke a little bit. The Bridge of Doom, the Bridge of Death over here. You never want to cross that bridge if your opponent's on the other side.
Yeah. Maru, though, he's just backing off. He's very active on the map while he's doing everything. He's adding another command center there that you can see on the mini map getting up right now. But in the meantime, he's just out on the map. He's not being passive, you know, keeping his army back at his base or doing anything like that. He's out on the map, taking down all the pylons that are out there, making sure that no weird warpins can happen and some weird, you know, drop player coming behind at the 4th base later on. He's been very good about that, and he's starting a Ghost Academy at the same time.
Yeah, he's really covering all his bases here. No Templar out of Oz. His plan is very Yonghwa-esque right now. Well, Yonghwa would probably add a Templar Archive and at least get Archons at this point, but he's just keeping it completely Stalker Colossus. That's not too bad if your opponent doesn't expect it, and he's like preemptively switching into Ghost to try to help deal with Templar. Which is kind of what we see right now. It's a bit sloppy, but just end up killing that Widow Mine.
Going up to 36 Zealots is Oz. Has a huge number of Zealots in this army. He's got the charge, and he has very good upgrades. One thing he's focused on a lot is chrono boosting those out. You guys got a little look at that. But that's the reason why he's so far ahead of Maru right now. This happens all the time in PvT, where you're just able to get your upgrades out a little bit faster, 20, 30 seconds, but it can make all the difference as long as you time it.
Yeah. He's starting to add a few more Stalkers into his comp. I'm worried, because I thought he was building more towards finishing out with Stalkers, but he added all those Zealots like you said. And this means that his Colossi are very vulnerable to Vikings, because if you have a Zealot-heavy composition with Colossi, if you have Archons and Storms there to protect them against the Vikings, that's fine. But you have mostly Zealots, they all charge into the front, and then there's a small count of Stalkers only. The Vikings are going to have a field day on your Colossi. He scans this too, and he's like, oh, I know exactly what your comp is now.
Yeah. He's got the cloak for his ghosts. It's about to come out. It's not out just yet, but it's upgrading. It's about halfway done. And, Oz has done a very good job of keeping an observer with his army at all times. But as long as that doesn't get picked off by the Raven that actually Maru has, he could definitely pick that off with some of his Vikings. If he does do that, his ghosts with the cloak are going to be so devastating.
Well, the 3-3 is about to finish here. This almost looks like a Creator Prime timing. Armor's done, +3 attack is done, 7 extra gates. Oh, that is about what we're about to see. With Storm going to be finished here as well. He needs to get some Templar out, though, because it's going to take some time to build this.
He just sniped that Observer.
Oh my goodness, you're right. And instead of Oz being the one who's attacking, now he's the one defending. PDD here protecting some of those Vikings. That Raven from earlier coming into play. Keeps scanning, he's looking for the Templar. Until he sees them, I don't think he's really going to drop any EMPs. This base is not canceled, will die. Buying a little bit more time for Oz. It almost looks like he's just waiting for some Storms here, but he doesn't have any Templar.
EMP is going down. Nice blank underneath the Vikings, but there are so many Vikings starting to pick off all those Colossi before the fight even happens. But look at this. Still so many Zealots trying to almost even surround the army of Maru. Great kiting, though. He is kiting all the way back. It looks like the Vikings not doing enough damage here. 2 Colossi still alive.
Yeah, Maru is in trouble here. And those upgrades really come into play. He attacked into Oz, and Oz was ready. Just way too many Zealots. And the ghosts that he made didn't end up really being all too useful because there were no Templar to snipe. He kept scanning. He's like, where are your Templar? Where are they? The reality is there's just, he never found them. So his EMPs went off and they hit decent unit groups, but his Vikings weren't in the best spot to fight the Colossi. They still got a lot of damage off. And he bolstered his Stalker count up to, say at the time, probably nearly 20. He was able to fight those. The Stalkers were in a great spot underneath the Vikings. The Zealots pushed the bio away. And that's it, ladies and gentlemen. Oz's defensive passive style, playing this old school like Creator. All the chronos he used on his gateways, he has 16 gates right now. Game over, pal.
It's going to be it. 3-3 timing, way too many Zealots. And Maru's he's just waiting it out. He's trying to think about this game and what he can do better in the next one.
Yep. And we are going to that next one. No way he's getting his way out of this. Vikings landing here. Way too many Zealots. Lift that orbital or watch it die. It's up to him. Looks like the Zealots are kind here to go into the main base and kill everything else instead. The units popping out are dying instantly with 16 gates to reinforce. Yeah, right. GG. Oz bringing it back, man.
I like the style. Maru showed a little bit of weakness to it. He seemed very confused. We saw about 8 to 10 scans go down before the fight even started, and then he still committed to it. But with all of the gateways back at Oz's base, he just had enough to warp in enough units to easily defend against that. 3-3 Zealots doing way too much damage, just way too good in that comp.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it was funny because it looked to be that Oz was adding all those gates, like 7 more, up to 16. He was just going to go across the map and attack, fight, and then warp in a ton of Zealots to end the game. The Maru attacked into him, and he was like, that's fine. Now we get this Diviner's advantage. Your Vikings aren't in the best place to kill my Colossi. He blinked the Stalkers into a place where they were on the high ground fighting against the Vikings, where there were no Marauders to fight against those. Yeah. They were being pushed back by the massive Zealot count that was on the ground. So even though he had a fairly low Stalker count and didn't have any Archons with his army, the Stalkers were in such an unassailable position that they were able to get the shots on the Vikings. If he tries to then fly the Vikings away, then he doesn't kill the Colossi. So that's a problem too. So the position there defensively for Oz is what gave him that overwhelming win, when I think he probably would have taken a good fight attacking into Maru otherwise.
Yeah. Maru just seemed very confused by that whole game. I mean, even just from the beginning, he just didn't have to attack into that, you know? He was getting a 4th up. He denied the 4th of Oz, you know? If he wanted to take it later, I mean, maybe he's just not comfortable really in that kind of game. He's much better in the mid-game, you know, dropping all over the place, doing that kind of style, but the defensive way that Oz played, just staying back, that creator style, getting a ton of gateways, getting a ton of those upgrades as well. He just kind of forced Maru into the very late game, and he just never transitioned out, which totally confused Maru. And I'd love to see him play a similar style here. It's going to be a smaller map, though. It's going to be on Merry-Go-Round.
This is pretty wacko, man. I'm liking this because it almost feels like Maru's playstyle is designed to shut down these aggressive Protosses that we see in Korea, and then be able to assail a third base that's taken a little bit greedy. Like, that's what we see from Maru all over the place. Whenever we see him in Pro League, you see him in the GSL. But against other Protoss players like Oz, who play a completely different style, an older style, a more defensive style, he seems to be a bit clueless sometimes. Well, let's find out, man. Oz versus Maru. One of these two players is out. The other will go on against Sue in our final match here at the GSL Global Tournament, Group B.